Al-Bakri.
Honorable Director of Institute of Research and Community Engagement, Ketua LP2M, Bapak Jajang Jahroni, PhD.
Wafadilat Mudir Markaz Buhus wa Khidmatil Mujtama di Jami'ah Syarif Hidayatullah Al-Islamiyah Al-Hukumiyah Jakarta, Asai Dr. Jajang Jahroni.
Honorable webinar participants, professors, faculty members, graduate and undergraduate students of UIN Syarif Hidayatullah Jakarta, and those from other universities in Indonesia and abroad.
Mustarikun fil mu'tamar wa sadatil asatijah wa do'il mudarrisin fil kuliyat, tulab Jami'ah Syarif Hidayatullah Al-Islamiyah Al-Hukumiyah Jakarta, wa tulab min jami'at ukhra fi anha'i Indonesia.
Selamat malam Indonesia, good evening Afghanistan, good afternoon Egypt and Lebanon.
Masa al-khair Indonesia, wa masa al-khair Afghanistan, wa masaan yani nahar lissat hunak fi Masr. Naam.
Alhamdulillah, we could gather virtually today in the international webinar organized by LP2M UIN Syarif Hidayatullah Jakarta on Islamic higher education after the COVID-19 pandemic.
Alhamdulillah naltaqi hadzal yaum fil mu'tamar al-alami al-iftiradi yunajjimuhu markazul buhus wa khidmatil mujtama li Jami'ah Syarif Hidayatullah Al-Islamiyah Al-Hukumiyah Jakarta tahtal unwan at-ta'lim al-ali al-islami ba'da jaihah corona 19.
My name is Maila Rahim and my colleague Ibu Yuliasin. It is a great precious chance for us to host today's webinar. We would like to thank all you all for joining us today.
Ana Yuliasin wa zamilati Maila Rahim innaha la fursah azimah wa samina lana listidafatikum fi hadzal mu'tamar al-alami wa nashkurukum jami'an ala indimamikum ma'ana hadzal yaum.
This is the agenda for today's event. The first is the opening remarks by the Rector of UIN Syarif Hidayatullah Jakarta, the Ambassador of Egypt in Indonesia, the Ambassador of Indonesia in Afghanistan, and the Chair of Rectors Forum for State Islamic Higher Education. The second is the presentation by the invited speakers, the Managing Director of Nur Educational and Capacity Development Organization, NECDO, Afghanistan, Dean of Faculty of Social Science, Kardan University, Afghanistan, Rector of Kandahar University, Afghanistan, Director of Center for the Study of Asia and Indonesia, Suez Canal University, Egypt, Rector of Stein Mandailing Natal, North Sumatra, Rector of UIN Sultan Taha Saifuddin Jambi, and Rector of UIN Sunan Kalijaga, Yogyakarta. The third is question and answers, and the fourth is the closing.
Bernamijun hajal yaum awalan kalimatul iftitah kulu min sa'adat Ra'isa Jami'ah Syarif Hidayatullah Al-Islamiyah Al-Hukumiyah Jakarta wa taliha kalimah min sa'adat Safir Jumhuriyah Mis Al-Arabiyah ladai Jumhuriyat Indonesia thumma taliha min Ra'is Muntada At-Ta'lim Al-Ali Al-Islami tanian al-muhadarat min kulli mudir al-munazzamah Nur At-Ta'limiyah wa Tanmiyatil Qudrat Afghanistan wa amid kuliyatil ulum al-istimaiyah Jami'ah Kardan Afghanistan wa Rais Jami'atil Kandahar di Afghanistan wa Rais Jami'ah Mandailing Natal Sumatera Simalia wa Rais Jami'ah Alauddin Al-Hukumiyah Al-Islamiyah Al-Hukumiyah Sulawesi Janubia wa Rais Jami'ah Sultan Toha Jambi wa Rais Jami'ah Sunan Kalijaga Yogyakarta wa Thalis wa al-munaqashah wa Rabi al-ikhtitam.
At this time, I would like to invite the Rector of UIN Syarif Hidayatullah Jakarta, Professor Dr. Amani Lubis MA, to give a welcome remark and to open this international webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Honorable Professor Dr. Amani Lubis. Dengan hormat, Ibu Profesor Dr. Amani Lubis, kami persilakan.
Walan kalimat min Rais Jami'ah Syarif Hidayatullah Al-Islamiyah Al-Hukumiyah Jakarta wa yiftah rasmiyan haja al-mu'tamar al-alami al-iftiradi falyatafaddal al-Ustad Dr. Amani Lubis tafaddal mashkura.
Ibu, maaf masih mute.
Thank you very much for the very nice introduction for the conference, for the webinar. For the speeches, do we have translation too or no? Because we use the both languages, Arabic and English, at the same time for the speakers.
No, we don't have translation, Ibu.
Okay, okay, yes, thank you. Except there are special things to be translated, inshallah. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, amma ba'd. Honorable speakers and also participants of the webinar. But first of all, I would like to welcome all of their excellencies, the excellencies from 3 countries, alhamdulillah. First of all, I'd like to welcome His Excellency, Ambassador of Egypt to Indonesia, His Excellency Ashraf Sultan. Your Excellency, Ambassador of Indonesia to Afghanistan. Yes, Your Excellency Arif Rahman, and also Honorable Professor Babun Suharto, the chairperson of Forum of Rectors for Higher Education, Islamic Higher Education Universities under the supervision of the Ministry of Religious Affairs. And honorable speakers, Professor Fazal Ghani from Afghanistan, Professor Ahmad Zaki Hussain. I think he apologized for today's conference. And Dr. Ahmad Khalid Hatam from Afghanistan too. And my colleagues, Dr. Torkis Lubis from North Sumatra, Professor Dr. Hamdan Johannes from South Sulawesi, Professor Dr. Suaidi Ashari from the province of Jambi, and Professor Dr. Al-Makin from Yogyakarta. Alhamdulillah, we are all tonight to have a very good deliberation about higher education, especially among the Islamic higher education institutions. We will discuss our experiences and insights. Especially, we are experiencing now the COVID-19 pandemic. So we should think seriously about the about teachings and learnings that will be will be implemented or experienced in our institutions. Let me now welcome also our speakers from in Arabic. Yeah. أولاً أود أن نرحب بأصحاب السعادة السفراء، سفير مصر لدى إندونيسيا وسفير إندونيسيا لدى أفغانستان، وأيضاً رئيس منتدى رؤساء الجامعات الإسلامية الحكومية بإندونيسيا، وأيضاً رؤساء الجامعات الإسلامية في إندونيسيا. هناك من محافظات مختلفة، من شمال سومطرة، من جامبي، من جنوب سولاويسي، وأيضا من يوجياكرتا. فنرحب بكل الحضور المشاركين من هيئة تدريس من الجامعات المختلفة في جميع أنحاء إندونيسيا. وأيضا أرحب بهيئة تدريس في جامعتي، جامعة شريف هداية الله الإسلامية الحكومية جاكرتا. نرحب بالأساتذة وأيضا العمداء والطلبة. أولا أود أن أشكر المنظمين من الجامعة، مركز البحوث والنشر بالجامعة، وأيضا المكتب للتعاون الخارجي بالجامعة على إقامتهم للمؤتمر هذا. المؤتمر سوف يتحدث عن مستقبل التعليم الإسلامي في جميع ما كنا، وأيضا خاصة في الفترة الآن، في فترة الجائحة وفي فترة ما بعد الجائحة. نعرف أن مشكلات التعليم في العالم الإسلامي كبير جدا. إلى جانب الجائحة هناك أيضا مشاكل في مستوى الطلبة والطالبات بالنسبة للاستيعاب، استيعاب الدروس وأيضا العلوم في أثناء الجائحة، خاصة نحن نطبق التعليم عن بعد. التعليم عن بعد عن طريق المنصات، هذا يعني يحتاج إلى اهتمام وأيضا إلى وجود سياسات جديدة. هذه السياسات لابد أن نتحدث فيها بجدية، وطبعا عن طريق التعاون والتواصل بين الجامعات الإسلامية وأيضا الجامعات العامة سوف يحدث التقدم إن شاء الله، والحفاظ على المستوى الجيد للتعليم خاصة للشباب. I think this is for the opening speech. I would like to encourage all of the rectors and all of the Islamic higher education institutions to have collaboration and cooperation to improve our implementation of the teaching and learning in our respective university. So by exchanging experiences and insights, we can improve our or the quality of education in our respective university. Thank you very much for attending and also giving insights in this webinar. Inshallah, in the future, we will have webinar also in other themes, inshallah. Or in the future, we will have the conference. Not not by platform like this, but we will meet in Jakarta, for example, or we will meet in Afghanistan, or also in Egypt, inshallah. We look forward having the cooperation between universities, inshallah, especially among institutions under the Ministry of Religious Affairs, I mean the Islamic higher education institutions, and also universities overseas, inshallah. Thank you very much, and have a fruitful deliberation for this webinar, inshallah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih Ibu Rektor. Thank you Prof. Amani. The second welcoming remark will be given by His Excellency Ashraf Usama, Ambassador of Egypt to Indonesia. Your Excellency, the time is yours.
Thank you. Well, Professor Amani,
good morning, brothers and sisters. I'm finally here.
Distinguished participants, I wish to welcome all of you and express my pleasure joining you tonight for such an important webinar. Please allow me to share with you a brief idea on what I think of this issue, these topics that you raised. I think it is a very important topic. I congratulate you on choosing this topic. Actually, when we speak about universities, it means we speak about youth and young people, and this means we speak practically on our future leaders. So this is very important issue. In this new normal, higher education institutions have a prominent role in the fight against COVID-19, and even more after there is a need to increase their commitment in working together as networks to exchange ideas and experiences. The purpose is not only to maintain and develop practices to combat the pandemic, but also to fulfill the need required by the society that universities should play a more crucial role in the search for new adapted general knowledge and social practices, as well as contributing to the development of our future leaders' skills and capacities. Universities should continue to encourage its students to innovate and be more able to adapt, to be more able to adapt it to after pandemic era, and even transmit this knowledge to the society. Universities contribute to the public debate, should contribute to the public debate, raise students' preparedness to face any similar conditions that may repeatedly occur in the future. Also develop ability to communicate and work together in teams and be leaders in a way that keep unifying and unifying society and its efforts, and transmitting a sense of solidarity for all society. For sure, innovative ideas will help our societies and policymakers to perform better. In this regard, it is important that universities and higher education institutes, while supplying the labor market with skilled graduates, would also work on the idea that those graduates should be qualified as innovative and hardworking leaders. This may be a challenge on these institutions and universities to more invest on the virtual learning systems and applications that became largely used now, to develop more learning methods, more technological infrastructures, and maybe also to upgrade the connectivity and to upgrade capabilities of people. At the end, I would like to wish you all good health and safety and success in your professional and personal life. I am not actually an expert in education, but this was my general thought that I just wanted to share with you. Looking at the future after pandemic, I think it is always, when we have this kind of problem, a kind of global problem or social problem, it gives us an opportunity to be better. It gives us an opportunity to learn something new, to come out of it in more solidarity. And this is, I guess, an important role for the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, His Excellency. The third welcoming remark will be given by His Excellency Bapak Arif Rahman, Ambassador of Indonesia to Afghanistan. Terima kasih Bapak sudah hadir. Ibu Yuli.
Ya, syukran jazilan Sa'adat Safir wa tali kalimatut tarhib min Sa'adat Safir Arif Rahman, Safir Jumhuriyat Indonesia ladai Afghanistan wa pursoh lahu.
Baik, bisa didengar suara saya?
Bagus,
Baik.
Mas.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yang terhormat Ibu Profesor Amani Burhanuddin Lubis, yang saya hormati Duta Besar Egypt tentunya, Pak Ashraf, dan distinguished guest, terutama speaker dari banyak negara, khususnya Afghanistan, Egypt, dan Lebanon. Dan saya rasa saya dengar juga tadi ada dari Pakistan atau dari partisipasi yang lain. Sungguh menjadi satu kebahagiaan buat kita semuanya memperkenalkan bersilaturahim, berbicara tentang pentingnya Islamic Higher Education menghadapi atau pasca pandemik. Saya ingin mengajak bahwa pandemi ini tentunya satu tantangan yang harus diubah oleh atau menjadi peluang. Dan Ibu Rektor telah menginisiasi, mengundang berbagai rektor atau universitas untuk berbicara tentang apa yang menjadi kewajiban kita bersama, ya, menghadapi tantangan dan merubah ini sekaligus menjadi peluang dan solusi. Ini sesuatu yang luar biasa, Ibu. This is a very important thing that Ibu raise up the title of education pasca pandemic. Ada beberapa challenge yang saya sering sampaikan. We have to maintain our spirits, our competency, especially connecting with our responsible in the higher education. The third one, we have to be more disciplined connecting with the situation. And this is very important, how we maintain our thinking, our thoughts for the future civilization. Ibu Rahmani, saya ingin menyampaikan terima kasih. I would like to say thank you very much. Dan saya menyampaikan sekaligus for the speaker from Afghanistan could attend this evening for discussion, for talking, connecting with how important higher education for the future pasca pandemic. Saya rasa Ibu, saya ingin hanya menyampaikan itu dan menyampaikan selamat kepada semuanya. Begitu banyak pembicara, nanti mungkin bisa waktunya panjang, dan saya menyemangati semuanya. Semoga Allah memberkati jalannya diskusi ini dan dapat kita implementasikan dalam kehidupan mendatang. Terima kasih. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you very much, His Excellency. Mr. Ambassador discuss about how we face this challenging event, the pandemic, and how the Islamic higher education could shift those adversities into great opportunities. Next is the remark will be given by the Chair of Rectors Forum for the State Islamic Higher Education, Ketua Forum Rektor PTKIN, Profesor Dr. Babun Suharto.
Syukran jazilan Sa'adat Safir wa tali kalimatut tarhib min Fadilat Ra'isul Muntada li Ru'asa Al-Jami'at Al-Islamiyah Al-Hukumiyah, Ustaz Dr. Babun Suharto, falyatafaddal alaihi mashkur.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Honorable Rector of Islamic University of Syarif Hidayatullah Jakarta, Prof. Amani Lubis. Honorable Rector of Islamic Universities all over Indonesia. Happy audience of distinguished guests. I am thankful to be part of the conference to speak. It is important to note that this conference is very important, that we should thank what we have to do post-pandemic COVID-19. We have to share the idea that we need to move forward to find what is the best for Miola for our students. Should we continue online learning or offline, or should we employ blended learning, one day online, one day offline, of home? I hope this conference will be find the best way for learning for the biggest future of our students. Finally, I hope the conference will be successful. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Prof. Babul. The next agenda is a presentation of 5 to 7 minutes from our grade 7 speakers. Audiences, if you have any question about the presentation, you may type your name, the question you are asking, and the name of which presenter should answer in the chat box. Ibu Yuli masih mute.
شكرا جزيلا سعادة الرئيس. والآن البرنامج التالي أريد البحث من كل المتحدثين لكل المتحدث 5 حتى 7 دقائق، ولمن لهم أسئلة يمكنهم أن يكتب أسئلتهم في chat.
Moving right along, it is now my pleasure to introduce our first invited speaker, the Honorable Dr. Faisal Ghani Kakar, the Chair of Nur Educational and Capacity Development Organization, or NEDCO, Afghanistan. Allow me to read the short bio of the speaker. Dr. Faisal was receiving his master's degree in Arabic Literature, Sharia and Islamic Law from Peshawar University and PhD in Islamic Education. Previously, he was a lecturer at Afghan Women Professional Education Institute and Managing Director of Fakar Social Education and Cultural Organization. He received some prestigious awards, some of which are the Peacemaker Award of NU Nahdlatul Ulama Indonesia, Leadership Award from Muhammadiyah Indonesia, Man for Woman Award by CW4W. Dr. Faisal, you have 5 to 7 minutes for your presentation.
المتحدث الأول دكتور فيصل غاني كاكار من المنظمة النور التعليمية وتنمية القدرات، فليتفضل عليه مشكورا.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين.
السلام ورحمة الله.
والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن اهتدى بهذه إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولنبلونكم بشيء من الخوف والجوع ونقص من الأموال والأنفس والثمرات وبشر الصابرين. صدق الله العظيم. Honorable Ms. Professor Amani Lobis, Excellencies, the ambassadors, my dear brother, His Excellency Dr. Arif Rahman, our beloved ambassador in Kabul, and dear brothers and sisters. It is all clear that the pandemic has left its very bad impacts on all aspects of life and affected badly the whole flow of normal life all over the world. Afghanistan is also one of those countries which was badly affected by this pandemic. Education and educational institutions were badly affected by this pandemic, but still there are hopes for a continuation of the education through online and sometimes from distance. I was given the topic just a few days back, but I would like to focus on the Islamic education in Afghanistan and post-pandemic era. Afghanistan is among the countries with the lowest rates of enrollment in modern education and of adult literacy. At the same time, the country has a long tradition of Islamic education. In this article, I would focus on the development of Islamic education post-pandemic era. Afghanistan is located in the heart of Central Asia, is one of the poorest countries in the world. GNP per capita was calculated to 164 USD in 1998, and the Human Development Index to 169 out of 174. Life expectancy at birth is around 45, and under 5 mortality rate is 257 per 1,000. The education of the country was tremendously leaving practically nothing undisorted. Nearly 2 million people died during the war, one population around 6 million. The country for natural disasters have devastated the country: floods, grasshoppers, earthquakes, in addition a severe drought lasting 4 years in a row. And almost total next to destruction of the country is the result. In the development of Afghanistan, from a tribal confederation till today, and politics have been intimately connected. Islam has been the means for unifying the country and for sanctioning both the absolute monarchy in the beginning of the last century and for the resacralization of the state by the Islamist movement. Islam reached Afghanistan during the 7th century and gradually replaced the existing religions of that time, Buddhism and Hinduism. Islam spread rapidly all over the country with exception of the eastern part, Nuristan, where the inhabitants converted only in the end of the 19th century. Today, 99% of all Afghans Muslims. Islam is the frame of reference for social morals, rights and obligations for all Afghans, regardless of ethnic origin. Islam in all parts of life, in politics, in education, in science, and life at home, in the mosque, at office, and in the field. Reference to the Quran and Hadith justifies the motivate actions. And in Afghanistan, other Muslim countries, education has a long history. Within the frame of Islam, education has existed for many centuries. Today, education includes 3 different categories. Number 1, traditional or indigenous education. 2, modern education. 3, Islamic education. Within the later category, there are 4 types of Islamic schools in Afghanistan: mosque schools, traditional madrasas, first level, and traditional madrasa second level, and modern madrasas. In addition, so-called Arabic schools have appeared from the 80s and onwards. Traditional education as the transmission of skill needed for survival in a subsistence agriculture in nomadic setting has, of course, occurred and been common in Afghanistan long before and formal education system was introduced. Teaching of skills, traditions, and beliefs valued in culture is values in cultures and is a kind of indigenous education transferred from generation to generation. Islamic education, the formal Islamic education differs from the non-informal Islamic instruction in at least 3 aspects. Number 1, it takes place in a specific setting, usually in the mosques. Most mosques, even the very simple ones, have a special classroom for teaching and learning. Number 2, not everyone is allowed to teach. A special teacher is appointed, namely the Imam, Mullah, or Maulavi of the mosque. Number 3, written texts are used, always the Quran and the Hadith, but sometimes also other kind of written literature. Islamic education has a long tradition in Afghanistan. It began with the arrival of Islam. Various individuals, men considered to possess religious knowledge and experience, have been teaching in the mosques for hundreds of years. Such Islamic schools were prevalent all over the country for many centuries. To learn the Holy Quran is the first objective. People young and old are then taught to memorize parts of the Quran. One who can memorize the entire Quran is still a highly respected person in Afghanistan and is called Qari. As I mentioned before, there are several types of institutions that offer the Islamic education. The mosque schools, which mostly focus on basics of the Islamic teachings. And then there are traditional madrasas, which focuses on hadith, tafsir, fiqh, aqidah, as well as miras and other relevant legislative issues. And there are also the modern madrasa schools that, beside the Islamic subjects, as I mentioned before, they also focus on some scientific subjects in even foreign language as English language in some of the madrasas. And there are the Arabic schools with higher level, they are called the Arabic schools or Darul Ulum al-Arabiya, and there are several Arabic schools in different provinces of the country, which are badly affected by the pandemic and the closure for the past almost 1 year. And we hope that in considering the precautious measures and the certain mechanisms to be considered for the securing the health and the well-being of the students in the academic staff, we should have better planning for the future of these Islamic madrasas and Islamic schools in order to keep up the level of the Islamic higher education, and particularly in Afghanistan. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fazal. Shall you forgot to open your camera during your presentation? You may want to wave to the audiences and say hi with your camera on now.
Okay.
Yes.
I have a little bit problem with this technicalities.
Oh, okay. Yes, because we are, well, some of the audiences actually private message me asking what's happened with your camera. Okay, maybe it's something.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Assalamualaikum, everybody.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih, Dokter.
Thank you.
The next 5 to 7 minutes, we will have Dr. Ahmad Khalid Hatam. Dr. Ahmad Khalid is the Dean of Faculty of Social Science, Kardan University, Afghanistan. He is a trainer arbitrator at Afghanistan Center for Dispute Resolution, member of Sharia Board of Islamic Bank of Afghanistan, facilitator for religious actors for peace, an assistant professor at Faculty of Law and Political Science in both university, Dawat University, Kabul, and at Islamic University, Islamabad. Dr. Ahmad Khalid, the time is yours.
Mutahaddis Asani, Dr. Ahmad Khalid Katam, Amid Kuliat Al-Ulum Al-Istimaiyah, Jami'ah Kardan, Afghanistan. Falyatafaddal alaihi mashkura.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. I'll take around 5 minutes of your time, but I'll share the screen with you so that the discussion is easier to grab. The contents of my discussion are the problems that we faced here in Afghanistan and the implication that the pandemic had for us. Then more like from academic point of view and research point of view, what questions were raised during the pandemic, what approach could we adopt, and the new venues that pandemic had for us, and we can take the pandemic also as a blessing in disguise in certain aspect of it, not the whole, because so many lives were lost during the pandemic, and it led to so many negative implications for us and around the world. So in Afghanistan, physical distancing was maintained, and that's why the universities were shut down. And this was general for all the faculties and departments. So the students were asked to stay at home, and there were some discussions on should we go online, should we use online platforms. But the problem that we faced was that since we have senior faculty members with us who are not very good with technology and ICT products as well as the platforms that we have online. In addition to lack of familiarity, we had issues with internet. Afghanistan is not rich in terms of broadband that we have. In our last discussion with the Ministry of Communication, we got to know that only 6 KB internet was available per user in the country. Also, it might be sort of a surprise for our participants today that we import electricity from Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, and based on it, students had problems as well as faculty members in terms of the electricity issues. Weak internet, lack of electricity, and lack of familiarity all sounded too sort of dreadful for all of us. However, we had to work on our approach. In traditional teaching and research, the contact between the faculty and students is too much. We ask our students to come to campus at 9 and they are here till 1 o'clock. So there are student consultation hours, there is research guidance, there are thesis issues, there are other instances where the faculty members are required to work with the students. In online teaching, we could not sort of think of some of these facilities initially. We thought that it would not be possible to supervise theses online unless we had meetings, proposal defenses, thesis defenses, and based on those, we had issues. We thought we will have issues. However, we decided that we'll go online. Now, going online, the university that I am in, Kardan University, as well as other universities, some of whom follow the outcome-based education system and student-centered learning, um, sort of felt that we needed to mix our methods. Because when it's online, we cannot ask all the students to turn their cameras on, and we cannot go for experiential learning. So student-centered learning, where around 80 to 90% of the work is supposed to be worked by the students, seemed not feasible, not possible. Outcome-based education had also some of the issues because in terms of formative assessments, we had issues. But we were committed since the pandemic didn't seem to end too soon. And that's why we had to mix our methods. Mixing methods meant that what we did was we prepared PPT slides, we recorded audio on those PowerPoint slides, and the slides were unconventional in terms of its details and contents because they were filled with information. And then we had either video classes for if there was a maths sort of subject was involved, or if there were other statistical subjects involved. And we also had Zoom classes like we have it now. We even now go for Zoom. So the PPT with audio is sent to the students through LMS prior to their class, and then there is a Zoom class. And during Zoom, we use Zoom's annotation system or OneNote for explanations and solving problems if the students have. So we've tried sort of to have a two-way communication between the students, but we unfortunately have felt sort of short of ensuring proper utilization of the student-centered learning mechanisms or experiential learnings. With passage of time, however, we did find some relaxation in the overall situation, and that's when we asked the students to come to campus in group of 5 to 7 students, maintaining physical distance, so that they work on practical sort of subjects, practical work. Also, we started getting back to our we created classes for supervision of theses and proposals. Also, to overcome the problem, what we did was the senior faculty members who had issues with information technology, computer, Zoom, and others, we assigned teacher assistants. So the junior teachers, as some of our program officers, were assigned to assist our senior faculty members in doing their job. Now, that was the approach that we worked on here in the university. We tried to ensure that teaching, learning, and research activities continued in the best possible manner during a pandemic. In terms of the issues that we faced, and in terms of talking specifically of Islamic education, we had a lot of debate coming in through social media, through articles, through discussions that we had in Turkey, in Pakistan, in India, also with some European countries that we engaged in debate with. There were questions for Islamic scholars. Now, those questions were related to faith, more or less. When the question of khair and shar came out, saying how many people are getting ill, whether this is illness, whether this is sort of a curse by God Almighty, and all. Now, those discussions came to front, and a new interpretation kind of was coming in. So there was a discussion between the traditional scholars, the traditional school of thought, as well as the modern school of thought, or the at times even the secular school of thought. Also, a discussion was related to tadbir and taqdir. Now, what to do with the pandemic? Should we sort of submit to the will of God and say, okay, it's coming, so we have to accept it, or should we work for different ways of dealing with it? When the effort for vaccine and the questions of vaccine and research came out, some people were saying that Muslims are busy in dua, while the non-Muslims are working on finding a cure and finding a vaccination, and that also led to discussion overall on how are Muslims going to respond to it, and this question was related to faith. So dua, can dua work for a pandemic, and what are the requirements for a dua to be accepted, and how dua works? What if dua is not accepted? And these discussions came to front. Precautions, should we go for physical distancing or no? Should we sort of just say, okay, may God protect us and go ahead with it, or what should be done was also a question that was raised for Islamic scholars to consider. Now, when it comes to law, in legal questions, Hajj was cancelled, and there were people who said that now the Qiyamah has come, the hereafter is here, because there is a tradition of the Prophet which says that the Qiyamah will not come unless there is no one to sort of do tawaf of the Kaaba. Prayers, as you see in the picture, were done in a new method, because in the taswir, the sufuf min tamam salat, we had a problem now. We couldn't sort of touch shoulder to shoulder or foot to foot as is sort of required in certain cases, and there was a distance of 1.5 meters. Now, some people were saying that because it's pandemic, you don't need to come to Jama'ah. You can pray from your homes because it's pandemic and there is a question or there's a problem of spread of the pandemic. Friday prayers were not prayed, Eid prayers were not sort of offered by some people. Even janaza, which is a requirement, was not sort of offered, and some of the people who died were buried in a completely different way. There was no one to offer the janaza. The hospitals took them, sort of covered them in plastic bags, and they threw them to more like sort of deep, not a qabr properly, but into trenches. Ghusl of the deceased, there were people who were buried without proper ghusl. Now, these issues were such that were related to law, and there was a debate created by the pandemic for Islamic scholars to respond to. Although we cannot sort of differentiate between that strictly as we do it in the common law or other legal systems, ethics and law, but Musafaha was sort of discouraged, Mu'anaka was discouraged, visiting the ill, Ayadat al-Marid was discouraged, we couldn't sort of go near to our parents and all. Now, these are ethics issues which are also sort of law, but mandub and mustahab, and all these questions were such that Islamic scholars were sort of challenged, and they were asked to come out and to respond to. Now, how to deal with these were questions that we had to counter and to respond to. Now, what new venues did the COVID-19 pandemic lead to in terms of education generally and Islamic education specifically? So we now have an online global community. We speak, I am teaching for the last 12 years or more. I've never had the chance of speaking to a community from so many countries through internet. But the pandemic now made us sort of able to look for these solutions, because they say need is the mother of invention. Here, although we didn't invent anything, but we did opt for new venues of engagement. Engagement has become very easy. Previously, we had a class of students where we had 25 people or 30 people. Now we can talk to 400 people. In the morning, we had a session with India where 460 people were attending it. So easy engagement is a new venue that Islamic scholars and institutions of Islamic education will have to consider. Research, teaching, training opportunities are becoming sort of non-conventional. We can now work with an Indonesian scholar on an issue that affects us both. Or teaching, we can sort of take a scholar. In my course, I have sort of had the honor of being accompanied by a scholar from United States of America speaking on a topic of international law. Training opportunities now, as I said in the morning, we had a trainer from abroad. 400 people were listening to the trainer and taking their notes. So these opportunities and new venues that the pandemic led to, and I'm sure that Islamic institutions and Islamic scholars will look into these. And in addition to our engagement with our own students, now we can engage with a larger community. We at Kandahar University conducted around 50 sessions of sort of on different issues, from politics to Islamic law to taking care of the weak and the hungry and poor through our Zoom platform, as well as Facebook Live and others. So engagement in others have become easy. A very specific question, a very specific sort of development for Islamic scholars has been that new ijtihads or attempts to do ijtihad and new matters has become more common. So we now see more sort of a maqasidi approach among scholars of the world. Previously, we had texts, so our approach was maximum qiyas, and then from qiyas we could go to maslaha and all. Now, for instance, when I gave you the example of prayers and then strengthening the lines there, sufuf, and touching the shoulders, people said in the taswiyat al-sufuf min tamam al-salat. So if there is no taswiyat al-sufuf, and if there is so long a gap between the two people praying, the prayer is not sort of proper. That's not sahih. But others said no, maqasid al-sharia are more important at this time than the text and the textual analysis. Invaluable resources and literature has come out. Previously, there were resources that were available with different universities and libraries, but due to pandemic, they've sort of put it online, or they've given access to people. Harvard University gave access. They have Sharia source, so there were a lot of material that was put there. Turkey and some universities, we seen this, that there were resources that were previously kept to them, but now they are available to all people. So these new venues are there. We've been trying here in Afghanistan to utilize some of these. I'm sure that universities in Indonesia are in a much more proper position to utilize these and to look into these questions, as well as these venues for the benefit of their own students as well as rest of the people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you very much, Dr. Ahmad Khalid. The next speaker is Professor Dr. Hassan Yosef, and after that, Professor Dr. Abdul Wahid Wasik. Professor Dr. Hassan Yosef is Director of Center for the Study of Asia and Indonesia, Suez Canal University, Ismailia, Egypt. Prof. Hassan, you have 5 to 7 minutes to share your thought.
Syukran jazilan Dr. Ahmad Khalid wal mutahaddis at-tali Ustaz Dr. Hassan Yusuf, Amid Kulliyatil Adab wal Ulum al-Insaniyah Sabiqan, wa Amid Ma'had ad-Dirasat al-Afro Asiyawiyah al-Uliya, wa Mudir Markazil Buhus wa Dirasat al-Asiyawiyah wal Indonesia bi Jami'ah Qanatis Suez. Miss ahlan wa sahlan bi hadratak.
نعم. أولا أنا أحيي معالي الأستاذة دكتورة أماني لوبيز، رئيسة جامعة شريف هداية الله، وأهدي لها كل التحايا والتبريكات، ونرجو لها وللشعب الإندونيسي كل تقدير وكل احترام وكل تعاون، لأننا هنا في مصر في جامعة قناة السويس نضم مركزا هاما متميزا عن باقي الجامعات المصرية سواء الخاصة أو الحكومية، وهو أن الجامعة تضم مركزا للدراسات الإندونيسية، مركز البحوث والدراسات الإندونيسية أنشئ منذ فترة طويلة، وهو يعتبر من أول المراكز العلمية الإندونيسية والمتميزة والمتفردة، ولا يوجد في جامعة أخرى داخل مصر مثل هذا المركز. ابتدأناه من فترات طويلة بمساعدة من أساتذة كبار من جامعة غاجامادا، وبمساعدة معاليكي حينما حضرت معنا مؤتمر مع العالمات المسلمات من إندونيسيا. والحقيقة لما أصبح العمل والتسجيل للماجستير والدكتوراه لعدد كبير من الدارسين في الجامعات الإندونيسية في مصر، بدأنا نفكر في عمل منارة ثقافية كبيرة تضم هذا النشاط، أثمرت منذ سنة تقريبا عن معهد الدراسات الأفرو أسيوية للدراسات العليا بجامعة قناة السويس، بمساعدة من الجانب الإندونيسي والسفارة الإندونيسية الحقيقة. ونحن اليوم على أعتاب 400 طالب، بعضهم من إندونيسيا وبعضهم من ماليزيا وبعضهم من نيجيريا لأن المعهد يضم وبعضهم من جمهورية الصين الشعبية. هذا يعني يدعونا إلى أن نقول أن الوضع الذي ستكون عليه الجامعات بعد جائحة كورونا، نحن الآن نعمل على خطين متوازيين. الخط الأول أننا نقيم بعض المحاضرات بنسبة 40% مع الطلاب بشكل مباشر، والجزء الآخر أونلاين عبر المنصات وعبر ما متاح هو من منصة من وزارة التعليم العالي ومنصة أخرى من داخل جامعة قناة السويس، يقوم الأساتذة بتقديم المحاضرات من خلالها نظرا للظروف التي تمر بها مصر ويمر بها العالم كله. ولكن ما بعد كورونا أعتقد أننا يعني بصدد وضع برنامج كما تفضلت سيادتك في كلمة الافتتاحية، أنه لابد أن يكون لنا تفعيل لخاصية التعليم عن بعد لكي نستطيع أن نتابع العملية التعليمية ونتابع التطور التعليمي داخل العالم بشكل مباشر. فلن يكون هناك بديلا عن هذا الذي ذكرته سيادتك في كلمتك الأولى في افتتاحية هذا المؤتمر العامر الناجح تحت رعايتكم، أنه لابد من وجود عوامل إلكترونية متعددة للتعليم عن بعد لكي يكون نافعا ومفيدا ويكون المردود على الطالب الذي سيتلقى المعلومة من أساتذة يعلمون كيفية التعامل مع خاصية التعليم عن بعد بأهدافه ومراجعه وغيره من الأمور العلمية التي يجب أن نبدأ من الآن في إعدادها لكي يكون لها دور كبير في المستقبل، لأننا سنظل نعاني على ما أعتقد فترة طويلة خاصة في المناهج والأساتذة وغيرهم، لأنهم بعضهم يتعرض للكورونا نفسه، يعني الذي يقوم بعرض المحاضرة يتعرض هو نفسه. فلا بد أن تكون هناك مناهج إلكترونية موجودة بالفعل داخل كل مؤسسة تعليمية كبرى تكون جاهزة للبث عبر الوسائل الإلكترونية المتعددة لكي يعني نتابع من خلالها ويكون التعليم له نفس الإفادة إن لم يكن أفضل في المستقبل القريب بإذن الله تعالى. حرصت على أن تكون الكلمة باللغة العربية لأن هذا المؤتمر العامر قد تزامن مع الاحتفال باليوم العالمي للغة العربية. أحييكم جميعا كل المشاركين في المؤتمر من القامات العلمية والسياسية والأدبية والثقافية في إندونيسيا وخارج إندونيسيا. نحييكم معالي الأستاذة الدكتورة أماني لوبيز رئيسة جامعة شريف هداية الله. نرجو للمؤتمر ولكم كل نجاح وتوفيق، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Professor Hassan Youssef. Professor Hassan shared the experience of Suez Canal University during the COVID-19. 40% of learning is online, and the university is now preparing to keep the online learning after the pandemic. And because Prof. Hassan thinking, and also the other administrator in the university, that COVID-19 will not end soon, but it will have effect for a long time. So they will keep the online learning stay and even improve the learning. Thank you so much, Prof. Hassan. And the next presenter is the director of Kandahar University. He graduated from Kabul Medical University in area of cancer examination. After graduating from medical college in the 5th year and having emigrated from the country due to the unfavorable conditions, he returned to immigration and was appointed as a lecturer at Kandahar University Medical College. Until recently, he was the director of the medical faculty, the head of the King Khan Research Center, the author of the admission department at the Faculty of Medicine, and the coordinator of the Master Health Program.
Syukran jazilan Ustaz Dr. Hasan Yusuf. Wal mutahaddis at-tali Ustaz Dr. Abdul Wahid Wathiq, Rais Jami'ah Kandahar, Afghanistan, falyatafaddal alaihi masykur. Dr. Ahmad Wahid ma'ana wala laysat ma'ana?
Wahid is with us, but I checked the audio is not on, so he may not able to hear us. So what we can do is I may try to private message him and ask him to join us audio, because his audio is not on still. So he cannot hear our our calling. Okay.
Hello?
Oh yeah, okay, good. Yes, Prof. Wahid?
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Now it's your turn, please.
I just lost the connection. There is some problem here. You know that in Afghanistan, there is some problem about the electricity and sometimes about especially the net. That I just lost the connection, but now I am online. I will start. Thank you very much. And then I will start.
Prof. Wahid, if you are willing, you can open your camera, please. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, clear and sound.
Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. His Excellency Dr. Arif, Ambassador of Indonesia in Kabul, professors from State Islamic University Jakarta, distinguished guests and professor from Egypt, Lebanon, and Afghanistan, conference participants, ladies and gentlemen, good evening and good morning. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I am Professor Dr. Abdul Wahid Wathiq, Chancellor of Kandahar University, Afghanistan. It is my pleasure having the opportunity to speak in this significant and timely required virtual conference, and I am thankful from your very kind invitation. I would like to share with you first general information about Kandahar University, second, Kandahar University experience during pandemic time, and third, our expectation from Indonesian universities and government. The participants from Afghanistan already understand, but for our distinguished guests from Indonesia, Egypt, and Lebanon, let me state that Kandahar, which is located in the southwest of Afghanistan, is the second largest province of Afghanistan with a population of around 2 million people. Kandahar University was first established in 1990. Since then, despite extreme challenge and a severe lack of resources, the university has come a long way and is still a rapidly growing academic institution in Afghanistan. Kandahar University has crossed many milestones over the last 1.5 decades. We have achieved a lot in different areas. It was genuinely pleasuring and full of joy for us when in 2013, Kandahar University was declared first in the quality assurance ranking across the country. As a young academic institution, Kandahar University has sent hundreds of our faculty members for master and PhD program to foreign countries, including Indonesia. Several of our faculty members are still pursuing their master and PhD program in Indonesian universities in various disciplines, particularly Sharia and Islamic law. Kandahar University has established 11 faculties in its structure, such as Faculty of Medicine, Engineering, Education, Sharia, Economics, Journalism, Law and Political Science, Public Administration and Policy, Literature and Language, Computer Science, and Faculty of Pharmacy. The university has around 15 academic and student support centers, namely the Student Career Center, Pacha Khan Academic Research Center for Peace Studies, Central Laboratory, Central Library, Media Center, and so and so. The university has 270 academic and around 300 administrative and support staff and about 10,000 students enrolled. It is important to state that Kandahar University has established mutually beneficial contacts with several academic and non-academic institutions around the world. We have MOUs with 5 national and 15 international universities around the world. The university that we have MOUs with are actively engaged with the professors from Kandahar University and are working on joint research and other vital academic programs. Kandahar University is nationally accredited university in Afghanistan. We are the first Afghan public university to have the honor of acquiring membership of APQN in Asia Pacific Quality Assurance Network, and chia in CAI in America. In response to the title of today's virtual conference, Islamic Higher Education in the Post-Pandemic Era, let me state the fact that unfortunately all sectors, mainly the education sector, was severely affected by the COVID-19 tragedy that took over all over the world. With the advent of technology and the internet, the world has turned into a small interconnected village, and Afghanistan is also a part of this village. Our education system is also disturbed and affected by COVID-19. With the arrival of a novel coronavirus, just like in other countries, Afghanistan also imposed a nationwide lockdown. As a result, all schools and universities were called off for several months. The closure of schools and university is still in place, and all academic institutions of Afghanistan are closed ahead of students. The COVID-19 physically separated students from teachers. In a country where the digital literacy of students is minimal, initially it was thought for us to keep the students in the loop. We as a university work around the clock to reach out to students and keep them engaged and occupied with their studies. Experiencing all these things for the first time was a challenging task, but we worked through this, and like in other countries, we started using online platforms such as Google Classroom, Google Meet, Zoom, Cisco, Webbox, and HELMS. We also learned to keep in touch with students through social media tools such as WhatsApp and Messenger tools, which in fact turned out to be very useful. I am surprised, but very much satisfied with the development of online or digital learning in our university in the last few months. In response to the COVID-19 development in the country, His Excellency, Deputy Minister for Academic Affairs, Professor Abdul Tawab Balakarzai, and his team from the Ministry of Higher Education of Afghanistan took a bold initiative. His Excellency presented his plan for online teaching and established an online learning management system called HELMS. All academic staff and students across Afghanistan were granted access to the HELMS online education system to keep active contact between university students and faculty members. Recently, when the lockdown was eased in some parts of the country, including Kandahar province, we planned and held 4 weeks long intensive classes for students considering health precaution in the university. We also conducted final exam and completed the first semester. To summarize in one line, our experience with COVID-19 has further strengthened us in teaching classes online. We also frequently webinars and conferences in the online format, which has made it very convenient for people to participate and contribute. According to my understanding, that Ministry of Higher Education Afghanistan has signed MOU with Government and Education Ministry of Indonesia, though I kindly request from His Excellency Ambassador and his brother country government of Indonesia and university to support Kandahar University in the following areas. Kandahar University Pacha Khan Research Center and Peace Center is struggling in peace activities in Kandahar and Southwest region. Everybody understand that peace is our first priority. We are kindly requested to link this center with some Indonesian university to have the same activity or approach. Second, to provide opportunity for our faculty of Sharia law to sign MOUs with Indonesian university to work together for the strengthening of faculty of Sharia law and curriculum development, joint research, use of library, and establish joint degree programs. Third, provide master and PhD scholarships for faculty members of Kandahar University. Thank you for your kind attention, and I would like to thank the organizer of the conference for your kind invitation. If there are any questions, please do not hesitate to ask, and I will try to the best of my ability to respond. Thank you very much from your time.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Abdul Wahid Wasik. The next presenter is Dr. Torkis Lubis, Rector of State Islamic College or STAIN Mandailing Natal. Dr. Torkis Lubis received his bachelor degree in Arabic language from University Al-Azhar Cairo and master and doctorate in Arabic from University Muhammad Al-Hamis Rabat, Morocco. He is a sworn translator of Indonesia to Arabic and Arabic to Indonesia, assessor at National Accreditation Board or BAN-PT, and reviewer for Jurnal Arabiyat Imla and Jurnal Al-Ta'rib UIN Palangkaraya. Dr. Torkis, dengan hormat kami persilahkan.
Jazilan Dr. Abdul Wahid Wasik, wal mutahadis at-tali Dr. Torkis Lubis, Rais Jami'ah Mandailing, Natal, Sumatera Shimaliyah. Fadilatuhu qad hasala ala darajatil lisan fil lughatil arabiyyah bi Jami'atil Azhar wal magister wa doktorah min Jami'ah Muhammad Al-Khamis bi Rabat Maghrib. Falyatafaddal alaihi mashkura. Dr. Torkis, unmute awalan.
الآن الصوت.
نعم. واضح.
طيب شكرا. طيب شكرا لرئيسة الجلسة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وآله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحانك اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. قال تعالى: وهو أصدق القائلين فأذاقه الله لباس الجوع والخوف بما كانوا يصنعون. صدق الله العظيم. صاحبة المعالي رئيسة جامعة شريف هداية الله الأستاذة الدكتورة أماني برهان الدين عمر لوبيس، أشكرك معاليكم كثيرا على هذه الدعوة الكريمة للمشاركة في هذه الندوة الافتراضية. أصحاب السعادة، سفراء السيد أشرف سلطان سفير جمهورية مصر العربية الشقيقة لدى إندونيسيا، وكذلك سفير إندونيسيا المعتمد في أفغانستان السيد عارف الرحمن، أصحاب المعالي رؤساء الجامعات من أفغانستان، وكذلك من مصر من جامعة قناة السويس، ومن جامعات إندونيسيا المحترم. وفي هذه المناسبة كذلك أود أن أشكر اللجنة المنظمة لهذه الندوة الافتراضية، الدكتور جاجن جهراني، وللطاقم وجمهور الحضور الكرام في هذه المناسبة. طبعا كما تفضلت رئيسة الجلسة بالتقديم بأنني رئيس الجامعة منديلي الإسلامية الحكومية في سومطرة الشمالية، وهذه الجامعة جامعة جديدة فتية وبعيدة شيئا ما عن المدينة، ولذلك أريد أن أتحدث أو أن أقول بأن التعلم والتعليم الجامعي الإسلامي بعد جائحة كورونا، طبعا في الأول يعني تقريبا في شهر مارس بداية كورونا في إندونيسيا كنا حائرين كيف نقوم بإجراءات التعليم والتعلم، ولكن بتوجيهات والإرشادات من الوزارة ومن الحكومة ومن رئيس الجمهورية الحمد لله يعني جاوزنا هذه المشكلة شيئا فشيئا، وتقريبا حتى انتهينا من المرحلة أو من الفصل الثاني للعام الجامعي 2019-2020 تقريبا كلها عبر المنصات زوم أو جوجل كلاس روم وواتساب وغيرها من الوسائل المتاحة. ولكن في هذه الفترة نجد مشكلة بالنسبة للطلاب أو للطلبة. ولماذا؟ لأن أغلبية الطلبة طبعا هناك ليس عندهم أجهزة مثلا الحاسوب أو الهواتف النقال وإلى آخره، ولذلك نجد مشكلة في هذه. إضافة إلى ذلك هناك مشكلة البنى التحتية في المنطقة، نجد مثلا الكهرباء منقطعة بكثرة، وكذلك الشبكة في المنطقة يعني ليست قوية، ضعيفة شيئا ما. ولكن من حسن الحظ بأن أغلبية الأساتذة المحاضرين في هذه الجامعة أغلبيتهم شباب، ولذلك لا نجد كثيرا مشكلة بالنسبة للأساتذة، لأنهم تعودوا على استخدام هذه الوسائل التعليمية قبل فترة جائحة كوفيد-19. والآن يعني في الفصل الأول للعام الجامعي 2020-2021 جاء الطلب من الطلبة بأنهم يريدون أن تكون المحاضرات يعني محاضرة أو التعليم مباشر، لأنهم يقولون يستفيدون أكثر ولا يستطيعون مثلا أي يناقشوا المواضيع الدراسية وحدهم، أو ممكن بعبارة أخرى بأنهم شعروا بالملل من هذه الطريقة ومن هذه الاحترازات الصحية الصارمة. ولذلك طبعا نحن ليس عندنا خيار إلا أن نقول يجب أن نحترز، يجب أن نراعي الاحترازات الصحية الصارمة، الابتعاد الاجتماعي، وكذلك مثلا هناك مغاسل كثيرة في الجامعة، وكذلك يعني الحضور نوزعهم حسب القاعات المتوفرة. ولكن الحمد لله في نفس الوقت يعني نجد مثلا في هذه الفترة الدراسية، طبعا قبل فترة جائحة كورونا من المستحيل مثلا أن نعقد ندوة عالمية خصوصا باستخدام منصات. هذه كانت غالية جدا، غالية الثمن، ومن شبه مستحيل يعني أن نقول نحن سنستخدم مثلا منصات زوم أو منصات جوجل كلاس روم وغيرها للندوة وإلى آخره. ولكن في فترة هذه الجائحة نقوم تقريبا الندوات الدولية. هناك متحدثون من إخواننا من مصر، وكذلك مثلا من المغرب، من السعودية، من تركيا، من الجزائر، وكذلك مثلا من دول أفريقية. إذن يعني هناك فوائد كثيرة أو هناك جوانب إيجابيات كثيرة خلال فترة جائحة كورونا. هذا أظن هذه طبعا كما استمعنا من السادة المحاضرين من قبل، استمعنا كذلك الإخوة من أفغانستان ومن مصر وغيرها من المتكلمين، لأنهم كذلك الآن ليس عندهم خيار إلا أن يكون هناك التعليم والتعلم، إما أن يكون مباشرا وإما أن يكون تعليم عن بعد. والحمد لله أظن طبعا يجب أن نتعود على هذه الظروف الجديدة لكي نستطيع أن نواكب العصر. ما علينا في الجامعة إلا أن نحاول ونجتهد حتى تكون المحاضرات وكذلك البحوث العلمية والخدمة الاجتماعية تجري يعني أحسن ما يرام. وهذه بعض الملامح وبعض المعلومات التي نستطيع أن نقدمها من جامعة منديلي الإسلامية الحكومية. وأشكركم كثيرا على اهتمامكم، ونستفيد طبعا كثيرا من هذه الندوة الافتراضية، ونشكر الجميع ونشكر السادة المنظمين، وفي مقدمتهم صاحبة المعالي الأستاذة الدكتورة معاني لويس. وأهلا وسهلا بكم جميعا، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Pak Torkis Lubis. Pak Torkis Lubis shared some experience in Mandailing, Natal. He said that even in the beginning, it's kind of hard to adjust or to adapt with the changing, the fast changing of learning from the in-classroom learning into online learning. Finally, the university or the college could adjust and adapt, and even they say that there are a lot of benefits that they can have. For example, for having an international conference as easy as simple using Zoom and Google Meet, and etc. Thank you, Dr. Torkis Lubis. And moving right along, the last but not least presentation by Mas Rektor, Professor Dr. Phil Almakin, MA, Rector of UIN Sunan Kalijaga, Yogyakarta. Prof. Almakin is also editor-in-chief of the Al-Jami'ah International Journal. He is one of the founders of the Ministry of Religious Affairs Reference Portal, or MORAREF. He wrote books and journal papers in English and Bahasa Indonesia. Among the writings, Unearthing Nusantara's concept of religious pluralism, harmonization, and syncretism in Hindu, Buddhist, and Islamic classical texts, representing the enemy Musaylima in Muslim literature, and homogenizing Indonesian Islam, persecution of the Shia group in Yogyakarta. He is also a frequent columnist for the Jakarta Post from 2006 to 2016.
Syukran jazilan Dr. Torkis Lubis wal mutahaddis at-tali wa huwal akhir Rais Jami'ah Sunan Kalijaga Al-Islamiyah Al-Hukumiyah Yogyakarta Profesor Al-Ustad Ad-Duktur Al-Makin falyatafaddal alaihi mashkura.
Almakin. Almakin, the camera and the microphone is not on yet. Almakin, are you still here? Have some example from university in Sumatra, in Afghanistan, Jakarta, and Egypt. And now we're waiting for some experience from our colleague from university in Yogyakarta. I hope Prof. Almakin are still, yeah, he's still here. Probably we might turn off the microphone and we cannot hear arrangement, because we actually quite fast for the presentation and the presenters are quite well in managing the time. So I hope and we hope that we will be on time to end this discussion at 10 p.m. Al-Makin? Possibly my colleague from LP2N can make a phone call. Yeah, Ibu Ifa possibly can make a phone call and asking how is it, Prof. Al-Makin, can he join us?
Yeah, I'm calling him.
Okay. Thank you, Pak Jajang.
Or we can begin with the question before Dr. Al-Makin came.
Yes, sure. Or maybe, yeah. Yes, Ibu. There are 3 questions, right? Or 2. For the question or the statement from Ibrahim Siregar, maybe Ibu Yuli later can read it. But I will read the first question. This is the question for Professor Ahmad Khalid Hatam. The question is from UIN Palopo. UIN Palopo is the eastern part of Indonesia in Sulawesi Island. Bapak Abdul Piro asked about how about the future of Islamic higher education, especially deal with students' character development? That's the first question. And then the second question is how to encourage or upgrade the capability of the lecturer in using education information technology. The question is referred to Professor Ahmad Khalid Hatam. Professor Ahmad Khalid?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I'm here. Thank you for the question. As far as the character building is concerned, yes, the modern education is not only about knowledge dissemination, it's about building skills and attitude among the students. We will have, as I referred to in my presentation, we will have limitations when it comes to student-centered learning or experiential learning. So the same applies when we discuss character building. But in our university in Kardan, we have designed specific sessions and specific courses for issues that relate to character building or attitude building. We do try to sort of inform and educate our students on soft skills. But along with it, we do take the liberty of asking some of them in groups to come to the campus and to discuss issues with the professors and with the teachers. So taking an integrated approach overall will help us in attending issues that are specifically related to skills building and attitude. As far as the issue of teachers training is concerned, in our university, we have faculty development coordinator office, who is basically mandated and assigned the task of updating the quality of and the capacity building of the faculty staff, the faculty members. So there we designed and sort of discussed and delivered lectures on how to conduct Zoom calls, how to use OneNote, how to have more control of the Zoom call. Now, we had issues initially and Zoom was not that rich as it is now, but how to use share screen, how to mute the attendees, how to sort of allow them when they have to say something, how to sort of use other options within Zoom. So initially we had issues, but then we came sort of with solutions for all those problems. As far as senior faculty members are concerned, and I referred to some of them in our law department who are above 50 years of age and they haven't been using information technology we have assigned teaching assistants to them. So some of our junior teachers or program officers who attend the session along with the senior faculty member, and they assist them, because we, for good or bad, we believe that it's not the time to work on building the capacity of those senior faculty members to use information technology. So what we can do is to simply provide them the support that they require, and after that we are pretty sort of sure that we are doing good. I hope I've responded to the query.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abdul. And the next, Dr. Ahmad Khalid Hatam. Okay, Ibu Yuli, do you want to maybe sum up a bit in Arabic? The explanation from Ahmad Khalid Hatam. Okay, the next question. Yeah, the next question is from the former student of UIN Jakarta from Pakistan, Bapak Abed Umer Quraisy. I saw him one of the first comer of this Zoom meeting. He since the beginning when nobody knows. Yeah. So thank you so much. And you have a question to Dr. Ahmad Khalid Hatam also. The question is, how new Ijtihad Maqsidi approach will attract students for learning? Kindly educate me about Ijtihadi and Maqsadi approach. Or Pak Umer, you want to ask directly or explain a bit about your question, please?
Oh yeah. Assalamualaikum. My question to Mr. Ahmad Khalid Hatim. You talked about Ijtihad, new Ijtihad and Maqsadi approach. I just want to ask one question: is would Maqsadi and new Ijtihad approach attract student for learning, or how will it work for those who are unaware about kind of things? Like kindly educate me about the Ijtihadi and Maqsadi approach. I'm not understanding about these two concepts which are using by you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. When I said we are moving, or we were compelled to move from text-related or literalist approach further into Maqasidi Ijtihad and Maqasidi approach, what I meant was that, and I gave an example. For instance, if we go by the text, Taswiyatu Sufufi min tamam as-salat, right? And prayers, we have to sort of stand beside each other, shoulder touching shoulder, and the foot touching the foot. Now, that is a tradition of the Prophet, and if we go by it, basically we are violating the WHO instructions or guidelines on physical distance. Now, here the question was raised for the Islamic scholars to consider, and for students to consider and to work on, as to whether it's possible in such situations to move away from texts and to focus more on purposive interpretation. Now, we have literalist interpretation. Shafis and Malikis do this often, but Malikis a bit, Shafis more. Now, Ghair Muqallidin, Ahl al-Hadith are doing it. Now, moving from this into focusing on the purpose of prayers, right? Now, purpose, according to some, is that a Muslim sort of kneels down and puts his head on the ground for God, to consider him as a submissive slave or abd. Now, if that purpose is served, would that mean that we don't have to worry about the text or the letter of the law? And that is where I said that this is a new venue, and the students will have to work on this and to sort of look into the limitations of such an approach. Because in fiqh, we have the principle of la ijtihad ma'an nas. If something is explicit, if something is already explicit, then there is no need to do ijtihad, because the hukum is already known. But now, if we go by the hukum and if we go by the rule, that would lead to spread of COVID-19, right? So students and Islamic scholars, now this is an issue to work on and to be prepared for. God forbid if we have another incident of such pandemic, so that we are prepared and we've sort of learned our lesson from COVID-19.
Thank you so much, Prof. Ahmed Khalid Khatam, and also thank you for Bapak Abad Umar Quraish. And Alhamdulillah, Professor Al-Makin is already joined us. And Prof. Makin, without further ado, you may begin your presentation.
Ini uang web.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Kalau lagi kurang web.
Thank you for the opportunity and congratulations at this great conference. He already spoke. Okay, congratulations Ibu Rektor, Professor Amani Lubis for holding this conference, and for the committee, Pak Dr. Jajang, and all rectors of the universities of Islam around the globe, from Middle East or also from Indonesia. Perhaps I could share my material only few minutes.
Yes, Prof, please.
Okay, recently, this is the latest case of the coronavirus hit all human beings across the globe. 74 million cases, with the death reach 1 million, but recover 52 millions. So although it is very hard, but the number of recoverers much higher than those who are not successful and pass away. And this is the latest news from the website that the USA is #1, and the highest cases is 17 millions, and total deaths 300,000. And the situation in Indonesia, the highest in Southeast Asia. The number of cases 600,000, and number of deaths approximately 19,000. And we are not sure because like every day we heard bad news through social media and WhatsApp group, Facebook, Instagram, that those who close to us, our friends, colleague, relative, just pass away. And here is the situation in Yogyakarta with 5 or 6,000 recover, but the total cases around 18,000. This is in my city in Yogyakarta, Central Java. So with this, we have challenges in education. Firstly, of course, is our spirit or our moral, because we always been presented by sad news and our work ethic decreasing. That is the first challenge. The second challenge is communication. We do not communicate effectively from one another because we used to get a meeting physically and know it is very hard. So of course we have barrier. At the same time, we are forced to use information and technology like this meeting using Zoom. Here what I describe from my experience, we're looking at the pyramids. Our role as the head of our university is getting more challenges because we have to communicate effectively. At the same time, we cannot meet each other. our burden is always on us, on our soldiers, because we have to coordinate all our staffs, students, lecturers, supporting staff. And I think both lecturers and students likewise have suffered challenges and at the same time discouraging, because they used to get a meeting, but no, it's impossible. However, at the same time, we cannot manage easily our supporting staffs. Our supporting staff, because of many slowdown or lockdown, not effectively used and do not go to office on daily basis or working from home, not working from offices. And it is indeed easily difficult, hardly difficult to manage. However, at the same time, despite these challenges, we have many that it seems quite advantageous if we learn from lesson. First, our use of IT, information and technology, is increasing. This is an opportunity for us to learn, like this Zoom, YouTube, Facebook, and as for your information, all of my lecturers use YouTube, and I myself, during this pandemic, opened my own channel of YouTube, and my students actively use that social media. And we use Google Meet, and oftentimes also Facebook. We are challenged by facilities for both lecturers and students because classrooms are no longer used, they are empty. But we are forced to use this. However, at the same time, although that is opportunity, but we cannot check and balance whether our students correctly understand what we said, what we deliver during our meeting, like this meeting. You call me and I didn't know because I do something else. And then Pak Jajang called me to inform me that my name was called, but I did not realize that because I was busy with something else. Likewise, when I teach my student, I really don't know whether my student pay attention or my student just play around with his or her friends or with their sister or maybe cook, because what appear in the screens, only their photo and doesn't move at all. It means they muted and they do something else. They do not particularly pay attention to the classes. So that is quite challenge, and we miss offline. We do really miss offline. And some of our students already protest, why don't we meet? I just get accepted to be your students, but we never see you. And we do really miss our campus. And that is what we heard. And at the same time, of course, we cannot do manual or conventional evaluation. If we continue these online classes, we cannot have a normal evaluation. Our evaluation quite challenges, and it is indeed very hard, and our morale, our spirit also low. And in the end, lesson learned from what I have experienced and perhaps others, firstly is leadership and management. Leadership management, it is indeed very hard, and we have to learn from this during the pandemic. New ways of communication. Of course, we cannot use manual communication because we have to call each other to inform through messages, and we cannot meet physically, and that is not effective. Learning new skill of technology that I have touched upon, we have to learn it. For the older generation, it is very hard, but for the younger, it is advantageous, but we are not sure whether they understand the material or not, particularly during the classroom. But at the same time, this tests our mentality and fortitude, whether we are strong, whether we are enduring, whether we are resilient. And indeed, during this pandemic, we learned something. Although we feel challenged. And I think that's what I can share with you. And thank you very much for this opportunity. And I wish you all successful, stay healthy, and be happy, because that will increase our immune system in our body. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Prof. Al-Makin. And we invite you, we have still 20 minutes to ask directly to the speaker. You may just raise your hand or just turn on your microphone, and you're welcome to ask directly. You may give some statement.
There is a question in the chat by Arabic. May I read it?
Oh yeah, sure, Ibu Yuli.
Min Ibrahim Siregar, suali ila mayuhimhul amr, malladhi tarohu haula adirasa an bu'ud bistihdam Zoom au adawat asabaqiyah ukhra ba'da waba corona. Yani, what do you think about, what's your opinion about using long distance teaching even after pandemic? To all of mutahaddisin, to all of speakers. Maybe we can begin from which one, Miss Maila? Okay, Mr. Al-Makin.
Okay, that is a good question. Syukran jaziran ala soal. Inda fikri hada mustahil. It is very impossible. It's impossible. Sure. If we cannot meet very soon, our moral will deteriorate and our spirit will be very low. So we have to meet. I don't know how, but according to the instruction of two ministers, both of ministers of Shu'uniddin, Minister of Religious Affairs, and Minister of Tarbiyah, Minister of Education, that on January we have to open our class. And at the same time, we have to keep our protocol. For instance, like thermometer gun, and also we check our temperature, and then wash our hand as often as possible, and then keep the distance. But again, that is no guarantee, because we have known the cases, people who get infected also obey the protocols. Particularly those who have, unlucky or not fortunate, they already have suffered from other diseases. That is impossible. And particularly that is our lecturers and professor. For the students, they are still young, they're still healthy, might be hit by corona, almost very optimistic, no problem. But for the age like us and older, we have to warn ourselves, we have to be very careful. So I'm not sure we need offline. We do need offline. Yeah. Nahnu nahtaj liqa. Nahnu nahtaj liqa. Walakin mustahil. Hada mushkilah lana. Hada mushkilah.
Hunaka hikmah ya Ustaz Doktor.
Ayo, Fadal Dr. Turkis, ma ra'yuk fi haja al-as'ilah hal yumkinana an wasil ala dirasa an bu'ud yani ba'da jaihah corona.
طيب شكرا. وهذا السؤال طبعا سؤال جيد، وأظن التعلم عن بعد والتعلم مباشر تقريبا كلاهما سواء، فقط نحتاج إلى التعود حتى نتعود، يعني العادة. إذا تعودنا على شيء فإن شاء الله ستصبح عادة بالنسبة إلينا. والدليل على ذلك نجد مثلا جامعة كبيرة الآن في فلسطين، أنا اتصلت بالإخوة الفلسطينيين كثيرا، جامعة القدس المفتوحة. هذه الجامعة طبعا في إسرائيل، ولكن الإخوة يدرسون هناك عن بعد، يعني عن طريق مثلا المنصات وإلى آخره. ولذلك أنا أعتقد بأن التعلم عن بعد والتعلم المباشر كلاهما سواء، فقط نحتاج إلى وقت حتى نتعود، وكذلك يستفيد الطلبة، لأن التعلم في الحقيقة هو جزء من الطلبة. إذا كان الطلبة عنده رغبة في التعلم سيحاول كل الطرق، يعني وليس فقط، لأن كثير من الطلبة أو كثير من العلماء نجد بأنهم يدرسون أنفسهم بأنفسهم، أو التعلم الذاتي. إذن هنا دور المعلم أو دور الأستاذ في الجامعة في الحقيقة يعني ليس بالضرورة أن يحضر أو أن يكون هناك ما يسمى باللقاء أو التلقي لكل الأشياء. المهم إذا كان عند الطالب أسس وسائل للحصول على المعرفة والعلم، فإن شاء الله سيواصل التعلم وطلب المعرفة والعلم. طبعا يستطيع لوحده، يستطيع بما يسمى بالتعلم الذاتي. إن شاء الله إذا كان الأمر يعني الجائحة كورونا تستمر، يعني نحاول ونواكب العصر ونحاول.
السؤال ليس كذلك يا أستاذنا، يعني السؤال هي لو يعني اختفت كورونا خلاص اختفت، ولكن هل يمكننا أن نواصل يعني الدراسة عن بعد بعد أن زال كورونا؟ يعني هل يمكن ولا لا يمكن؟ فدكتور الماكن قال
لا يمكن،
مستحيل.
طبعا يمكن، يعني حتى مع كورونا نتعلم عن بعد، فما بالك إذا كان بدون كورونا؟ يعني هذا إذن سيكون لنا اختياران.
ولكن نتيجة، هل هناك فرق يعني نتيجة الدراسة عن بعد ودراسة يعني باللقاء، يعني مثل ما يكتب دكتور الماكن يعني ضروري أن تكون محاضرة يعني offline وليس أونلاين، أليس كذلك دكتور الماكن؟
اختلف فيه العلماء.
نعم
كذلك.
نعم، أظن هناك الطرق تؤدي إلى مكة المكرمة إن شاء الله. بالطريق عن بعد كلاهما يؤدي إلى العلم والمعرفة إن شاء الله.
هل يمكننا أن نسمع من المحاضر من الخارج، يعني من خارج إندونيسيا مثلا من مصر، سيد سفير، هل تريد أن تعلق على هذا السؤال؟
يعني أعتقد أن هذه التجربة التعلم عن بعد هي تجربة يمكن الاستفادة منها مستقبلا. بالتأكيد أن مسألة الحضور المباشر في الجامعات هي مسألة مهمة جدا. التواصل الشخصي والتواصل المباشر بين الأساتذة والطلبة مسألة في غاية الأهمية في اعتقادي، ولكن فكرة التواصل عن بعد هي فكرة أيضا يمكن الاستفادة منها في أمور ربما تكون إضافية أو شرح إضافي أو أشياء إضافية ممكن الاستفادة منها، أو لخدمة فئات من الطلبة، مجموعات من الطلبة في أماكن بعيدة ربما يستفيد من هذا. يمكن يكون ليس لديها القدرة على التعلم المباشر، ويمكن أنها تحصل على نوع من التوعية والتعليم بشكل في الطريق بشكل الافتراضي. يعني أعتقد أن المستقبل هيكون فيه توسع أكثر في استخدام هذه البرامج والابليكيشن اللي بنستخدمها الآن، وأنه ممكن حتى يعني على سبيل المثال إن محاضر في دولة يلقي محاضرة لطلبة في دولة أخرى، يعني هذا التبادل بين الجامعات متاح الآن أكثر من ذي قبل.
صحيح.
عن طريق الابلكيشنز اللي بنستعملها، لأنه قبل ذلك كان الحضور مباشر ولم يكن في ذهننا أو في تفكيرنا أو في ثقافتنا إن إحنا نستعمل هذه الأداة. الآن أصبحت موجودة.
أيوة.
وبالتالي يمكن الاستفادة منها ليس بالضرورة في المناهج الأصلية، ولكن ممكن إضافة أشياء أخرى، دورة خاصة لمدة أسبوع، تبادل ما بين أساتذة في جامعة في بلد وجامعة أخرى في بلد آخر. يعني أعتقد أن في أوجه كثيرة للاستفادة من مسألة التعليم عن بعد.
شكرا يا سيادة السفير. فأعتقد يعني أن الدراسة عن بعد لا يمكن أن يكون بديلا يعني عن الحضور المباشر، يعني لأننا نحتاج إلى التعامل المباشر مع الأساتذة، يعني هكذا رؤية حضرتك يعني. وفي الأخير نريد نسمع من رئيستنا دكتورة أماني، هل يمكن حضرتك يعني تعطي فكرة عن هذا السؤال؟
شكرا جزيلا. لأن السؤال باللغة العربية نعم أعلق أيضا باللغة العربية. طبعا الجائحة سوف تأخذ وقتا طويلا، ليس فقط بعد شهور، ممكن سنين في المستقبل. فإذا نحن لابد علينا أن نتكيف adaptation، نتكيف مع الوضع الآن ونحول عملية التعليم إلى التعليم الهجين، الهجين hybrid education. الهجين يعني blended learning في أوقات أو في مواد معينة أونلاين فقط، وفي مواد أخرى لابد أوفلاين، لابد اللقاء. فإذا لابد أن نتوافق مع الظروف الآن، وفي نفس الحين نطور أيضا الأدوات والأجهزة الذكية عندنا سواء في الجامعة أو عند الطلبة. الآن نحن في إندونيسيا نساعد الطلبة بإعطائهم وحدات للموبايل، دفع عن طريق الحكومة وعن طريق الجامعة وإمكانات الجامعة. نساعد الطلبة والمدرسين الأساتذة وأيضا العاملين بالجامعة. هذا قرار جمهوري. لابد أن نساعد هيئة التدريس على يعني التسهيل للحصول على الوحدات فول سايز، وحدات للموبايل، لأن معظمهم يستعملون الموبايل أو أيضا اللابتوب، ولكن أيضا يحتاج إلى وحدات إنترنت. فلذلك في حين نحن نستعمل هذه الوسائل ونتمنى تحسين الوضع، وأيضا إن شاء الله يتم التعليم المباشر ليس عن طريق الإنترنت وعن بعد. التعليم المباشر طبعا مهم جدا، لأنها يعني هناك مميزات كثيرة. وإلى جانب أن من الناحية النفسية أيضا التعليم عن بعد هناك نقص في عملية التربية الشخصية، التربية يعني التربية الشخصية أو character building. فأظن هذا، وشكرا على المداخلات والتعليقات. سعادة السفير يريد أن يتفضل.
يعني أنا أحب أضيف شيء، لأنه الحقيقة لدينا تجربة في مصر. إحنا مصر الحكومة من عامين قررت أن يكون الجزء أساسي من التعليم الصف الأول الابتدائي أن يكون أونلاين، بمعنى أنه كل تلميذ يدخل التعليم الابتدائي في مصر يحصل على آيباد من الحكومة، لأن جزء من التعليم هيبقى أونلاين وجزء من التعليم هيكون من خلال برامج تعليمية تفاعلية وتطبيقات تعليمية تفاعلية من خلال الآيباد. وكان الهدف أنه يكون التعليم ليس عن طريق التلقين، أنه يكون التعليم عن طريق زيادة القدرة على البحث والتفاعل في إطار جماعي. فهذه التجربة بدأت في مصر بالفعل من عامين. احنا ابتدينا نسلم كل تلميذ يدخل الصف الأول الابتدائي آيباد مجاني من الحكومة لهذا الهدف، بمعنى أنه هذه التلاميذ عندما ستكون في سن الجامعة هيبقى كل الأشخاص اللي داخلين الجامعة من تلامذة لديهم هذه القدرة وهذه الأدوات في التعلم.
ما شاء الله. بالبلاش يعني يا أستاذ سفير؟
أفندم؟
بالبلاش يعني الحكومة
ببلاش.
ما شاء الله ما شاء الله.
ببلاش. الحكوميين طبعا لدينا 2.5 مليون تلميذ يدخل مراحل التعليم مرحلة التعليم الابتدائي سنويا. ويحصلون على هذا البلاش.
شكرا سيد السفير على التجربة الجيدة من مصر. وأظن هناك there is another interesting question. So أختي مايلا.
Okay, thank you, Ukti Yuli. The question is about vaccine, and we bet the person who is better answer this is Professor Wahid Wasik, due to his experience and also background in medical faculty and in the medical and health program in the university. Professor Wahid, the question is, when will it be considered safe to officially go back to conducting studies and learning offline in the university? Will it be after everyone would have taken the vaccine or just those affected? What are the speakers' thoughts on the vaccination from an Islamic perspective?
Thank you. Did you mention about the vaccine of the COVID-19 for the COVID-19?
Yes. What about your thought about the vaccination from the Islamic?
First of all, before that, I will also have some from the thought for the previous question also about these Zoom and also these all technologies. This is very important for us also to use this after COVID-19 also, but not this will not be the same benefit like in the class, because especially in medical students, when they are taking their classes online, this is not benefit for them because they have to go to the ward, they have to contact with the patient, and also to take their vital signs, and also to hear their lungs and also heart. For that reason, they must have the face-by-face class or maybe a physical class, because these technologies, Momedul Dars, this is not taking the same benefit like the students, they are going to the practical work, especially for the medical students and also the engineering students. For them, this is very, very important that they must have also physical classes. Without physical classes, it's difficult for them to get concept, especially from the how to examine the patient. This is very, very important for them to go to the classroom and also to have face-by-face with the teachers, with the lecturers, with the professors, and also with the patients. And for the next question about the vaccine for this, now it is very, very, we are in the very beginning of this era. Now we everybody is looking for that, how to get the vaccine, where to get the vaccine, and everyone is also now they're very keen to where to find this kind of vaccine, because you know that a lot of the before, according to the other professors, now this is around 1.5 million is also the death rate for the COVID-19, and everyone is very they are very keen to find the vaccine, because this will be also some measures for the WHO, that they are requesting us also to find to keep the measure, the preventive measure. It is very, very important, because now they are also the beginning of the vaccine. Nobody knows that the vaccine is doing well or not, is performing their duty or not. For that reason, we have to keep in mind that we must have also the measure, WHO measures, and keep in mind that to wear the mask, and also to have a distance between when you are together, not go to the wedding parties and this kind of when most gathering people, for that reason. But the most important things, especially in Afghanistan situation, is that the student, when we have a physical class, this is a big problem for us to make the distance, because in the classroom we don't have enough classroom to sit the students at least 1 meter, not at least half a meter away from each other. But this is a big problem also for, I don't know for other countries, but for Afghanistan, this is a very big problem, that we cannot, we didn't have this kind of classes to put these students away from 1 meter away from each others, and this is a big problem also for us.
Thank you very much. We are on time. It's 2:10, and this is possibly the end of the question and answer session. And thank you to the audience who have engaged actively. Ibu Rektor, Prof. Amani, any last thought that you'd like to share, please?
I just want to thank you all, Your Excellencies, Ambassador of Egypt to Indonesia, Ambassador of Indonesia to Afghanistan. Thank you very much for your kind attention, and you pay attention for our webinar tonight. And also all of the distinguished speakers, I'd like to thank you all, and all of the participants of this webinar. Special thanks for the organizers from Sharif Hidayatullah State Islamic University. Thank you very much. Stay healthy.
Thank you, Ibu.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Selamat malam dari Kabul. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Abdul Wahid. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much from all of you.
Thank you very much.
Makasih Bu Rektor.
Jazakumullah khairan.
Sama-sama.
Daripada Malaysia.
Oh, Malaysia. Terima kasih. Ya, Ibu Dr. Siti Rahma. From Malaysia, from Pakistan, from Afghanistan. Yeah. Thank you. Bu Maila.
Okay.
Ustazah Yuli.
Yeah.
Syukran jazilan.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up today's webinar. On behalf of LP2M UIN Hidayatullah Jakarta, we would like to thank you all for making time in your busy schedules to join us here this afternoon, evening, and night. Terima kasih. Ibu Yuli, you may close in Arabic.
Okay. Hakaja intahayna min fa'aliyatil mu'tamar niyabatan an mudir markazil buhus wa khidmatil mujtama li Jami'ah Syarif Hidayatullah Islamiyah Al-Hukumiyah Jakarta. Nashkurkum ala istirakikum hajal mu'tamar wa natrukum fi riayatillahi wa amni. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Jazakumullah khairan katsiran. Thank you very much.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih semuanya. Maila, Mbak Yuli.
Tapi cuma dari satu dengan